Hello, everybody, and welcome to Debuffed Gaming News Dispelled. We're talking about EverQuest next this evening, and we want to welcome everyone to our podcast here on October 16th, 2013. We want to welcome back Liette, our XO for the Grievance Guild for EverQuest next, and then also our guild leader, Steelheart. There on the bottom. Say hello, everybody.
Hey, hey!
Hello.
So how are you guys doing today?
Doing well. How about yourself, sir?
Doing good. Got my coffee. We had a lot of news. Got some pictures we're going to talk about. And so, lots of news to talk about in so little time. But we've been waiting for at least a few things to talk about, right? So it's
Absolutely.
about time. And so we'll get straight into it then. We're going to talk about the EQN live stream they had yesterday on the 16th. It seems like they're going to start doing these live streams weekly. Maybe not next week, but hopefully within the next couple weeks they're going to start doing this weekly, give us some news, and even show us some video of EQ Landmark and EQN. And so we only probably have time maybe to talk about half their live stream because it was a 45-minute long live stream with a bunch of different things they talked about. But the first thing they talked about, or mostly what they talked about, was just the roundtables and why do they do them. And so they mention that they don't ask random questions, and so they're just not pandering us with, oh, we want to ask you guys this so you guys feel part of the community and feel like you're adding to the development of this game, but we're not going to really listen. But they mention they are listening, and where they get these questions from is what this is what the devs are actively discussing at that time, and so they'll throw this question up and discuss it, and so they want to hear what we say. And so what do you guys think about that? Do you totally believe them that these things matter to them?
Well, I do believe that it does matter. As a developer, you want to please as many people as you can. The more people you please, the more popular your game is, and the more money you tend to make. There's obviously some other things that they can't change in the game regardless, but I do believe that they are listening. Absolutely.
Yeah. How about you, Leah?
I think just like we're cautiously optimistic, they're cautiously listening to our reactions. And as Steele said, they want to make sure that they're making the game that people want to play. So this kind of feedback is going to be very, very, very important to how they end up with their game. So I'm glad they're listening. I'm glad they're taking our views into consideration, and I hope they continue to. So good for them.
Yeah, and they were definitely, they made it seem like this is exactly how they discuss things. They're at literally a table and they're all discussing this, and so at this week they happen to be discussing this certain subject, and so why not throw it up on their roundtable website and see what we think about it too. And so they go on and to discuss how the roundtable works in their development process. Most of it's to get information. And so like with the races, they gave an example, whether we would want gnomes or Ratanga or something, and they were saying it's just a way to get information from us of what we'd like. And so it's not necessarily this is what's going to be in it and this is what it isn't, but it's more of what do we like.
Well, and absolutely. You know, they've got their mechanics that are in the game, and there's no possible way that some of these mechanics they can change.
Yeah.
So, for instance, there was matter of fact, the last EverQuest Newscast, we discussed the class limitations for races.
Yeah.
Well, they obviously wanted the community's opinion on it, but as far as the way the game is already constructed, it wasn't going to happen. What is what is. Everybody's going to be able to play everything, and that's how they built their games. And that's a core mechanic. Core mechanics, they're not going to be changed by votes. At least I wouldn't assume they would be.
Yeah, definitely. And so that's what they mentioned. They're not going to throw stuff up there they know they can't change, or they're going, or they're not willing to change. But there some things they honestly have questions about that they may not know, or they're discussing, like, we don't know what we should do with this. And so basically to get information. That's why they have the roundtables. It's not to decide yes or no, but it's just to get information and also to get ideas. Like they talked about the holidays, whether we like holidays in it, and so they like getting our examples because some of them they mentioned like the holidays. They like Frostfell and they like the Halloween events they have in EverQuest. And I think most of us said we like them too, right? Or I remember Liette. Were you saying you like Frostfell?
Oh, of course. Gosh, awesome.
Yeah, and so I think most people look forward to these events, but they happened to not only just get what we thought, but also get ideas of how maybe they can do this better, or do this more according to lore, and so how to work this into EverQuest Next in a better way. So it's really interesting to see, just because I think most of the time we were looking at it as yes or no. Oh no, they're not going to put gnomes in the game. And so is this a little relief that they're just looking to get ideas and that these aren't yes or no questions? What do you guys think?
It sounds like they're using it more as polling than they are asking for yes or no questions, which is very, very smart.
Yeah.
Of course, majority rules, so I'm guessing that's what they're looking at. Does the majority like this? And if so, giving little details such as, well, do you want holidays built in with lore, or do you like the holidays that correspond with real-life national holidays?
Yeah.
So I think that's very smart and a good way to use the information they're getting from us, and especially with the feedback on the forums to give more detail of why we like something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about you, Steele?
Yeah, I think as far as the holiday question, I think absolutely that's something they can add in game at any given holiday, obviously. So if the community comes out and says, well, we like President's Day, then they could do something on President's Day related to American President's Day. or like the Frostfell, for example. It's not really Christmas, but it has a Christmas theme with an EQ2 theme.
Yeah.
And that worked really well. I personally enjoyed it. Now on topics like, let's say they put out one and said, do you like the Holy Trinity? Yes or no? They're not going to change what they have programmed in the game regardless what the community says.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. It's their game. They're building it like they want to, and we should respect them for that. It's going to be a great game.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like the thing you mentioned about President's Day. That's exactly what they're looking for. They might have had the poll questions that said this, or this, but then they're saying in other avenues they're finding out what players really think, and they're actually, oh, we never thought about that. I'm glad we put this question out there because now we know maybe we need to add a President's Day in EverQuest 2. That's a really bad example. We're going to add President's Day in EverQuest. First MMO.
We'll call it Monarch's Day.
Monarch's Day, yes. There we go. And so they mentioned 3 ways there are to interact with the roundtable. Now, most of us might have just been doing the polls, just clicking the button, vote, and there you go. But that was the first one. They mentioned polls. Second is forums. And then third, a big one to them is tweeting. So if you are on Twitter and you can get, if you notice on their website, on the Roundtable website, they have all the devs and their Twitter accounts. You can follow them, and you can literally just talk to them and let them know what they think. And they said they are listening. And how do you guys feel about that? Have you guys tweeted anybody yet? Any of the devs? I know you guys are big Twitter people.
Actually, I've just gotten into twerping, tweeting, whatever you want to call it.
Twerking?
I have.
Are you twerking?
No. You do not want to see me twerk. I promise. Twerping, but tweeting. No comments. But, I've just gotten into it myself, and I've actually been tweeting, which is odd for me, but I have. And the EverQuest Next devs are religious tweeters, and they are listening to the community. They're commenting back and forth with the tweets and responses to their tweets. So they are paying a lot of attention to that, and it makes sense. If they're working on something on their computer or whatever, they got their mobile device, they can just look. It's easy. They don't have to follow different forums. It's a very rapid way of communication and being able to talk with the community without having to totally tab out, for so to speak, tab out of everything you're doing. So they really are utilizing Twitter. So all you Twitter people out there, twerpers as I like to call you, tweet these devs, because they are responding.
Yeah, exactly, and it's pretty neat that they're listening through this medium, because like even I remember I had a conversation with John Smedley, and it had nothing to do with EverQuest. We were talking about Star Wars, out of all odd things, but it's like these devs and people at SOE, they're listening and they're willing to communicate with the community and talk with them and have fun with them. And even like today when Dave Georgeson released all those screenshots, he was having all these conversations with people about what they thought, and they were really, really excited to release something different to show us and have a conversation with us. And so that was really nice. And they mentioned there's a fourth way that we're starting to interact now, and it was kind of like not their plan, but the community's made this fourth way, and it's with blogs and fan sites and podcasts, all these different avenues that fans are starting to pop up with. They're actually starting to listen to those too. So if you guys know anybody and you enjoy our EverQuest Next podcast and everything, let everyone know about our podcast, because as we find out, these are the ways that devs are actually starting to listen to get our opinions across, to get our thoughts, and see what we think about this game that we've all been waiting for years now. And so we look forward to that. But next, they talked about why they choose these questions, like how do they come about with these questions. And they mentioned that it wasn't something that they had a firm decision on. So like you mentioned, Steele, about the Trinity, or whether or not they're going to have it. They might have a firm decision, they're going to have a Trinity, so they're not going to throw up a question that they could care less about, like, oh, should we have this in the game, even though they know they're not going to have it in the game. So they mentioned there's no such thing as a fluff question, a meaningless question in Roundtable.
You gotta watch the way they put the questions up there. For instance, and I don't recall the exact wording but a lot of them are, what do you prefer? Stuff like that. So they're asking the community what they prefer. They're not asking the community, okay, what do you want to see, and this is what we're going to do based on your opinion. So there is still a little smoke and mirrors there, like we talked about in our original cast. There's obviously things they are not going to change.
Yeah.
And proof was the question about racial class restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even based on their original information that everybody will be 40 plus classes or be able to professions, whatever you want to call them, that's not something they were ever going to change. Now, what that could lead to, and I'm just kind of throwing this out there, what that could lead to is branches off of stuff based on racial, or maybe even extra racial abilities that are class specific.
Yeah.
But as far as class limitations, that was never going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I don't. May not necessarily. Maybe at first when they asked the question, they didn't know whether or not they're going to change it. But maybe as soon as they started seeing our opinions, and then putting the math together of, okay, what if we had certain races with only certain classes, and I forget how many numbers of classes they're going to have, like 80 or 40 or something like that.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot.
And so they were like, oh, the community would like some limitations on that, and then they realized, oh no, like, how difficult would this be to design? And they were honest with us. They came out and said, you know what, we understand that you guys would like this, but technically we can't do it, or it would just be too hard at this time.
I respect that.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's nice to know that they are listening, and they are responding, however we want to go about it. But they were mentioning that they're serious about what we think, and so even if they can't cater to what we might want in the end, they're not putting these questions out there just to entertain us, but they actually care about what the players think. And so any thoughts on that before we move on?
Well, if I were a dev, I would really care what players think too, given they're the ones buying my game. So I am glad they're asking, and that they are really taking it into account through whatever social mediums we're deciding to express that in. So I think they're handling this with a lot of intelligence and a lot of integrity and asking what we think at this point. They haven't presented that much material. We know that the world is beautiful. It's destructible. The characters are very stylized. We've seen some really, really, really good movement videos, but other than that, we don't have a whole lot of idea about the game and how it's going to be finalized aside from lots of classes. And there we are. So I like that they're asking these questions now. And it really can give them a basis for a more successful game and knowing what their fan base expects and what we can expect of them going forward. And I think it's a really positive interaction so far. And I'm looking forward to seeing where they take it. So looks like female dwarves are getting beards, and hopefully there will be gnomes.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I mean, yeah, these aren't like game-changing things, but it's like it's fun in a way to be like, okay, we know that we're having a part, and even if it's a minor way, helping to develop these. But they mentioned about repolls, or maybe they want to get a second opinion, or maybe continue on the same theme of a poll. They said these are definitely things that they're going to start doing. And so, like Steele mentioned about the class things, they came out and told us, you know, we can't do it. But they might come out with another poll the next week saying, well, what if we had branches off of certain races or certain classes that we know that this one race can only be this one class, and so like simplify not every single class, but there might be that one or two classes that can only be a certain race, or the other way around, only one or two races that can be a certain class.
Well, absolutely. You could take, say there's a shaman or whatever you want to call it, however you want to pronounce it, and they have a progressive line for that. Then branching off of that would be simplify, a troll shaman. You know, so it is possible. They can. I mean, that's the neat thing about these games. They're always progressing. There are many ways to institute what the community wants, just maybe not right at launch, or maybe not in the beginning journey of your character.
Yeah.
Or they could implement it as alternate advancement paths. Maybe there are bonuses as, say, a froglock, who you see as paladins, that kind of thing so often, for being a sword and shield using class. Regardless what class, maybe they get a bonus whenever they equip that kind of weapon and that kind of secondary item. So there are lots of ways they could take it and add that kind of, not limitation, but maybe bonuses. For those people that like to min-max and really focus on certain classes, that might be the way to do it and satisfy the community.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
like a continuation question, like we were just talking about the holidays. What if they asked us about the holidays? Do we like them? Do we not? What if they came up with another question connected to that? Well, which holidays do you want to see, or which ones we don't have would you like to see? And so we can get our President's Day in there and be really excited for celebrating the
Monarch's Day. Monarch's Day.
Yeah. And they mentioned that the community's been saying EverQuest, these roundtables are more about EverQuest Next. Some are about Landmark, but most of the time they're asking about EverQuest Next. And the neat reason they mentioned is because Landmark's almost done. So they're not gonna ask a question about a game that's almost done, because obviously they're not going to change it. But they want to find out more about EverQuest Next, because this is a game that's still in development, maybe a year or 2 years off. We're not sure. We have no idea. But how do you guys feel about that? That the feeling of Landmark's almost here, and EQN is far off, but they're asking more about it, so we have more of a part in that.
I absolutely agree with you. I think Landmark, and there's a lot of confusion on this, and believe me, I'm confused as well. So all y'all out there that are confused, I'm with you. But I look at Landmark almost like I hate to say, but like a beta almost, a place where characters are going to be creating castles, ruins, whatnots, what have you. Some of this will make it in games, some of it won't. A way that the development team can watch how everything works, how much fun the players are or are not having, and really, if it's a whole year before EverQuest Next launches, or a year and a half after Landmark, and they notice in the first 3 or 4 months people are just not playing anymore, then they know they have the wrong direction. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So it's a great testing ground for them. It's free to play, and there's no reason why people shouldn't be in there.
Yeah, and
I'm going to be in there.
Yeah, and you, Liet, Landmark being so close and EQN.
Well, I'm beyond stoked. I just want to hop in there, check out what hairstyles they have for my tune, figure out whether I can play a gnome or not. Well, I wouldn't be playing a gnome. It would probably be my husband, but just the option.
A bearded dwarf?
Yeah, I'll have to check out the female dwarves, but I'm probably not going to make that my tune.
Yeah.
No offense to the ladies who like beards.
You're gonna have to grow a beard to use the SOE emote so that your beard can flow in the wind with the SOE emote.
Really?
No.
Do not think so.
You don't want to see my expressions sometimes, so I'm going to leave it off.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I know. Totally on a different subject about SOE mode, but that's pretty crazy that you can walk up to somebody and you can start talking to them like on TeamSpeak and you can see their mouth moving and everything.
Creepy.
Yeah, but they mentioned that doesn't mean that Landmark's not going to be in the roundtable. Like, Landmark's going to start being in the roundtable when it launches. Because now we're going to have this game that we're all playing, and then they're going to want to know what do we want to change about the game. And so we're going to walk into Landmark, and then all of a sudden all these questions will start flowing in, or these thoughts that we think about Landmark are going to start flowing in. And so it's almost like we're going to have our own Minecraft, but we're going to be able to tell them, hey, what's missing in this Minecraft? What do we need that's going to make Landmark that game that I'm always going to turn to build whatever I want to build?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know about you, but between Landmark and EQ Next, all I ask, Sony, if you're listening, all I ask is I want another game I can sink 5+ years of my life into. Please.
Yeah. Or at least build for 5 years, right?
Build for 5 years. I just want to enjoy it for 5 years. I miss the days of the games that we would get in there and it would be like, okay, we're here for the next 3 to 5+ years. This is gonna be fun, and now you get into a game and it's like, man, I hope it lasts 6 months. It's
I know.
really looking for that game. Once again, SOE, I hope you're listening. 5+ years.
At least.
At least, yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
It would make me happy if I spent the rest of my life in this game.
Yeah. And can you guys think of any games that are doing that right now that, I mean, besides like forums and everything, or asking questions, like, what would you like to change with the game right now, or what can we add, or what should we take away? Can you guys think of any?
Actually, yes. I'm in touch with a friend of mine that apparently Blizzard's doing this with just general gaming questions. And these people are being asked, what did you like about WoW? What did you not like about WoW? Mm-hmm. And they're asking, now whether that's going to pertain to current WoW or future game, you never know. But they're actively going out and asking the people who played WoW for a very long time, why aren't you playing anymore? If you are, why are you playing? What did you enjoy? If you're not playing, at what point did you stop enjoying it? So there are other development companies that are doing this, and that's a necessity. There's 50, 100 plus MMOs launched every year, from browser to mobile phone to big. I think now there's a new title, 4A title MMOs. Somebody else posted on MMORPG.com not long ago. There's a new rating called 4A. I didn't read much into it, but I was like, wow. Okay.
No, I think I heard someone saying that, and they were just saying, well, those are the MMOs that spend more than $50 million to develop their game or whatever. It's just these extreme, like, expensive games like SWTOR and everything that just, they throw so much money at this game trying to make it.
These things are expensive. I mean, one of the WildStar devs made a comment on one of their previous posts, or it was a quote from them, like, fastest way to burn through $100 million is to piss off your gaming community, or something like that. Don't take that verbatim, but and it really is. They spend $100 million+ on these big AAA titles, and yeah, they make their money, but they really, really want something to. At least I would hope you'd want something to last when you put that much time and money into building it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and And one of the things that they were saying is, or that I was trying to get at though, is compared to other companies, it doesn't seem like anyone's doing as much as SOE is right now, as far as getting the community's opinion. Because you mentioned Blizzard, but it's like, have we heard of them live streaming these questions or asking these questions or having a new question up every week on the website? It's pretty open on how, or you don't hear anybody encouraging them to tweet them about what they want in the game or what they think they should change. And so, do you think this is a good thing that we have this open communication with the development team and everybody involved?
Absolutely. I think the more they talk to the gaming community and the more the gaming community talks back, the more enriched the whole experience will be for the dev team to know what their community is looking for, and for us to know where their thoughts are, so that we'll be able to really know what to expect when we hop in the game and enjoy it all the more. I think it's also a neat look into the actual development process as far as what their questions are, so you kind of know where their head is, and especially based on their live streams, gives you a good feel for their reactions, and how they'll react going forward as the game progresses, not just at launch and not just during beta.
Yeah. And I think it's cool too, because it's like most of the time when you're tweeting different game companies, you're talking to their community team, right? Mm-hmm. But right now, like everything we're seeing the producers and the game designers, and they're encouraging you to tweet directly to them, the people that are actually making it. So it's definitely pretty neat. But one thing I was excited about that they mentioned, just a little saying that they said the reason they're asking more questions about EverQuest Next is because EQ Landmark is more like just an open world, whatever you want to do this, right? But EverQuest Next is more of your typical MMO, so there's a ton more design decisions that they have to make. Does that relieve some worries that we have that EQN might not be the typical MMO that we're hoping it will be?
I like that they are making it as big as it sounds. I hopped in EverQuest 2 a couple days ago just to run around. That was my first big MMO. It's it for me. That's my baseline of what's cool. Granted, I played some EverQuest 1, but EverQuest 2 is where I spent years. So just having that huge open world feeling and knowing there's so much to do and so many layers upon layers of detail in that game really adds to the immersion. It really makes you feel like you've hopped into a living, breathing world, and that they're worried about the minutiae in EverQuest Next tells me they're going to at least continue in that vein of making it in-depth and interesting and fun, and not just, oh, well, run here and you're going to have this one path to follow. So I'm really looking forward to it, and especially with the horizontal progression, I think that adds a new layer of gameplay that, well, we really haven't seen before from this franchise, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I was just excited to hear them say that EQN is going to be more of your typical MMO, and so even though we want different things and things to make MMOs better, like we still want EverQuest to be EverQuest. We don't want it to be this unrecognizable game that just has an EverQuest name to it, right? And so what do you think about that, Steele?
It is EverQuest, and so we come to expect the EverQuest lore, the EverQuest race is a lot of, even though it's horizontal progression, a lot of the EverQuest style classes we come to expect, well, a lot of different things. Not be your typical MMO, that's a plus. There's a comfort zone in there for people. I guess it all depends how you define typical on a personal level. Typical for me is going out and having fun with my friends, going out in a dungeon, raiding. These are preferences for me, whether the game has them or not. So it all depends what you define as typical.
Yeah. And so we're going to just have to wait and find out, because we don't know, or we haven't seen much. We can just only assume what we're going to see. But they said that it's maybe not the questions or answers that they're looking for in these roundtables, even though at first it might have seemed like that, but it's about the discussion. So what comes out of it? What is the community relating to them? And so they might come away with the decision that has none of the answers in it, but it's something in between, or it's neither of them, because after the discussion they realize they can't do this like they did with the races and the classes.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's all about the reasons why we want certain things and the opinions that we have. So they mentioned there's no right answer when it comes to the round table. So it's kind of encouraging, right? It's not just a yes or no, but they're actually listening. And so if we say something different that there's no option for, they might do that. So
well, more importantly, they're communicating. And communication is the key to developing trust in a community. How many times have we been involved in the launch of an MMO as an organization, and the information coming out from the development team is almost non-existent? A present day example, Elder Scrolls Online, for all appearances looks like it's going to be a stellar game, but there is a definite lack of communication between the development company and the player community. So you're starting to see interest in that game kind of wane off little by little. And then, of course, they'll post something new and it all comes back. But games like EverQuest Next and WildStar, the development teams are communicating back and forth with the players, engaging, tweeting. And there is more of an active community and more of a rabid fan base looking for these games to come out. So communication is definitely the key.
Yeah, and it's encouraging that they're listening. But if we ever have questions that we want answered or we want put out to the community, and it's something that the EQ devs think is valid and something that should be put out there, they said the best place to put our questions is on Twitter. Tweet the developers, let them know. Not the. I mean, we can write in the forums or click the voting, but they said tweeting them, they actually listen to that regularly. And there's actually a hashtag that we can use, EQNRT. So EverQuest Next Roundtable, or EQNRT. If you put that hashtag in your tweet and you have a question, they look at all the questions in that hashtag, and if it's a valid question, they're going to put it up on Roundtable for everyone to discuss. Now today, Dave Georgeson, he put up pictures of what he did in Landmark in a few hours, and so it was pretty exciting because we haven't seen many new screenshots or anything from Landmark or EverQuest Next, and so we have just a few of them we'll show right here. We have these first two, which is indoors of this castle that Dave Georgeson he developed in just a few hours. What do you guys think of the look that we have here?
Wow.
Wow. This isn't wow. No. But it definitely, even the indoors, like the way the furniture looks and stuff, it definitely has that stylized feel when you look on the inside. I think it even looks more stylized inside with the tables and the little tiki plant holders and the tables. It looks like there's like spires on the table in the background over there.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, I look at things like the rectangular windows with the bricks, how they're kind of formed in there.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the archways on the one on the right side. I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, man, this looks cool. I want to build a castle. You heard it here. I want to build a castle.
Yeah, but that's the crazy thing is those archways and those windows, you can form those however you want, right? It's not a template that, oh, this is a doorway, but you can make your doorway, form it however you want, and use the curving tool or the smoothing tool they had, and make this your house. And so no doorway is going to be the same, and then you could save that doorway and put that doorway everywhere in your house. Who knows?
I like it.
Yeah. But these next two are the outside of that castle. Just a little, I guess you could say U or a horseshoe of a castle.
It's a keep.
Yeah, a little keep. You guys like it? I know Steele does. Liette?
It is very, very cool. I'd like to know exactly how many hours that took him, and I'd
Yeah,
love
he
to
said
see
it, he said a
time-lapse.
few. Yeah, exactly. I want to
A
see a time
few.
lapse. What
Yeah.
does that mean?
Yeah, a few can be anywhere between 2 and 6, so at least in my mind.
Yeah.
Um, Looks really, really awesome. I would be excited to see more of the interior. In EverQuest 2, I did a lot of furniture making. It was a big deal, and I liked decorating.
Yeah.
So I love that so far their art style for the items indoors is also this consistent style of not necessarily perfect realism. It's a bit cartoony, and so is the castle itself here. Um, I mean, rounded edges probably isn't going to be found in a castle unless it's very weather worn, but it looks great here and fits right into the landscape. The voxel work is amazing. I love how all the crenellations are very regular. Obviously, they worked on that. Um, so I'm excited to get in here and try out these tools. I tell you what, and I will be putting in more than a few hours. So there, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I like how you can see the trees in the background and stuff. Like, this isn't just like this, like how in EverQuest 2 you mentioned, like this instance little island or something that you could have your house on, right? Or just a little inside part or apartment, but it's like, oh, you have your keep right here, and then you look over there, and I could probably see Steelheart's keep over in the background behind those trees. I know he's over there.
Castle.
And so, yeah, okay, castle. He's not gonna have a keep. He's gonna have
Big
several.
bar.
He's gonna have several keeps on the outside of his castle.
Woohoo.
Yes, but it's like to imagine that. Okay, I'm gonna build this, and everyone else in this world is gonna see it too. It's kind of crazy to think that we're gonna be in an MMO and have our buildings all show up on the same continent or whatever.
I haven't seen that since Star Wars Galaxies. Let me tell you something. It was really neat when you were traveling to just stumble across this town, so to speak, somewhere. So it'll be really neat when you're traveling through here to say you round a corner and coming out of the woods and there's this big giant castle and then you see a little bit later after you explore this person's castle, you go around and somebody's built this neat hole in a mountain and it's a dungeon that they've made or something, just per se. But so the possibilities are limitless. It's going to be a really nice interactive world, and I really hope that all this transfers to EQ Next when EQ Next launches at the end of next year. It'll be really neat. I really enjoy static player housing in a game.
So we mentioned inside, or Liette did. And we can see more different styles of furniture here, and a kitchen.
Ooh, look at the picture! It's got a dragon on it.
Yeah, we got a
That's
picture of a
awesome.
dragon. Yeah. And so, definitely different. It's definitely a different art style, but I like it. Like it's almost like a. I don't want anybody to hate me, but they're gonna hate me like a medieval Wildstar.
I like it. It's awesome.
Right? Because I mean, we've seen the housing in Wildstar, which is instance. But this, we get to build all we want. And
Well, I like that. Just look at the style. It's not too serious. It's effective, but check out the chair. It's got that curvy thing going on. It's not just a chair. It's there. It'll be looked at. And your table, if you have a guest that you don't like so much, you just whack their head on the corner. Okay, sweet.
Yeah, that's a nice.
So yeah, this is an awesome art style. I can't wait to see more stuff that they put out there.
And you have to wonder with like that kitchen, are you gonna actually get to use that stove like in EQ2 and you start doing your cooking right there? Or because they mentioned like landmarks, like one of the things that landmarks are the crafting tables. So is that a crafting table we're seeing in the background, or is it for cooking, or is it just there for looks? Who knows?
I don't know. It kind of brings up another question too. If we can design keeps and castles and structures and ruins and dungeons and whatever, then can we actually design chairs and tables and stoves? And if we design a stove, is it going to work like a crafting table? I mean, this is all really interesting things. That picture of the dragon over there, will we be able to make our own pictures? Because at one point they had said that players will design stuff and be able to actually put it on the market for real money. So there's some really good possibilities in this for those that are entrepreneurs.
There are.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, Leah.
they've mentioned before they're going to be looking at architecture that is in line with their vision of the art style
And
for EverQuest
yeah.
next. So they could save themselves a little bit of work too, I think, if they let the community have at it with their furniture. And how amazing would that be? Now, granted, they've got to keep with the medieval Wildstar style. I love that term. I think that's really accurate for what we're seeing. Could be a really, really beneficial piece for the devs. So
Yeah. I feel like we could talk about these pictures even more, but it's like there's so much in it, and to think that this is only a few hours, so obviously, like you remember the things you could do in EverQuest 2 with the decorations and the house, like people made like a winter wonderland or a aquarium, like all these crazy things in their houses with whatever you can make, and so to think that this is just a few hours, the possibilities are endless.
that is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to hop in there. Bring on Landmark, please.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
So we look forward to jumping in Landmark. They said winter. We're almost there. Winter is
Boy,
coming.
it's close.
Yeah, it is close. So they
I'm
said
ready to geek out.
they said that's the number one question they get. Hey, when's Landmark coming out? So
Like, yeah.
we'll just keep asking them because we want it to come out. So, but that's all the time we have for this evening to talk about EQN. But we want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you, Steele, and thank you, Liette, for coming on and talking. Just as reminders, just follow us on Twitter at Grievance Gaming or at Dashiva. If you want to talk with us, you can go look at our website that we're starting up at getdebuffed.com. Follow us on our channel on YouTube at Grievance Gaming, or like us on Facebook at World of Grievance. And we invite everyone to stay tuned for a Wildstar cast coming up here in about 15-20 minutes. And we look forward to talking about Wildstar. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in a bit.